Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today as I am going to be sharing with you 5 things that I wish I could have told my younger self. And these are things that I have learned in my 20s. And I will say that even if you are older than me or past your 20s and you're like, "Oh, well, this may not apply to me." I think all of us are on different journeys and we come across life lessons and interesting things at different times than other people. And so, with me being a young mom and getting married young and then starting businesses in my 20s, I do feel like I went through quite a bit of life experience just in the 10 years. And so, I'm excited to share this. And there are some things that maybe you have not experienced yet, even if you are older than me, which is 30. And there may be things that you've experienced in your 20s that I haven't yet. And so I just want to get that point across is that even if you aren't younger or my younger self, then that doesn't mean that you may not take away stuff from this. And I hope you do, if anything. So, with that, I will start with number one, and that is a recent hard lesson that I have had to learn, but I really love that I've started implementing this into my life, and that is to pay attention to how people, places, or things make you feel. Know when it's time to pivot, remove, or condense from your life. And this could be a job, family, friends, where you live, where you hang out, what it is that you're doing, etc. And what I mean by this is that when you take inventory of the people in your inner circle, the people that you spend your free time with, you need to see, okay, how do they make me feel? Am I leaving feeling anxious and worked up and just negative? Or am I leaving feeling uplifted and happy and inspired? And, you know, with a good feeling, because there have been many times in my life where I have kept myself in a circle of whether it be people or kept myself in a job or doing activities where I left just feeling unfulfilled or unhappy or, like I said, negative, in a negative headspace. And the older that I got, the closer to 30 I got, I started realizing, like, whoa, okay, I need to really take inventory, look into who I'm spending the most time with, what I'm spending the most time doing. What is my job doing for me, to me every single day? Am I leaving my job feeling like, okay, that was great. Like I can get up and do that again or do this for the rest of my life. And I got to a point in my own career where I couldn't see myself doing anymore. It was making me a negative person, and that is an energy that I don't want to express. And same thing with past friendships that I have had. I realized quickly that, okay, I am talking about things that I don't wish to talk about with these people, and I'm leaving negative, and I'm negative while I'm with them. And so taking inventory really helped, and just condensing the time with those people or doing those things is great. It's not necessarily meaning that, oh, completely cut them out of your life or completely cut family out of your life, because I know that that is really difficult. But I think if you could just start with condensing, it's a huge thing to do for yourself in a positive way. And also, to add to that, it also, when you start to remove or condense those negative, maybe not so great for you and where you're wanting to go in your life, those things out of your life, or those people, maybe just not hanging out with them as much, it also opens up some free space for the people that are for you to come in. Okay, and healthy habits transform your life. So, what this means is plenty of sleep, clean food and water, exercise, skincare, and downtime. If you listen to my last solo episode, you heard me preach all about this stuff. So, I'm not going to go too deep into it. Definitely tune into that episode if you haven't already. But I started really implementing more and more healthy habits into my life probably about 3 years ago and got real serious about a year ago. And plenty of sleep was a huge one. I heard actually, I think I had a guest on my podcast talk about this too, that whenever you get a routine going with your sleep, and let's just say Monday through Friday, you are serious about it. Like you are sleeping 8 hours every single night, you're getting great sleep, you're waking up in the morning feeling refreshed, and then on the weekends, you act like you're in college again and you're getting, you're out until like 3 a.m. You may or may not be drinking alcohol and partaking in that and not eating the best food and all of that. And it's like, oh, well, I do it 5 days a week, but then I only, you know, do the not so great stuff 2 days a week. Well, it's it's not really good because your body doesn't understand that. They're like, okay, we're healthy. Oh my gosh, no. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? So it's really important to, if you can, stick to a routine of healthy habits. I know it's not super easy whenever the weekend comes up. We all have events that come up and, weddings that you may be attending, and obviously you're going to be out later than you normally go to bed, or sometimes you're on vacation and you're not eating as well as you do when you're at home. I totally get things come up, but if you can try to stick to your healthy habits as much as possible, and then whenever you do things that aren't so healthy, just make sure to try to balance it out the next day, or, really, really kick it into overdrive that week afterwards. Something that I tell my kids often when I'm trying to help guide them into making healthier habits is that you wouldn't put regular gas in a Lamborghini. And we are Lamborghinis, so we need the premium. Okay, my next thing would be have a strong understanding of who you are. Because when you do, you carry a confidence and a self love that will help you throughout your life. This is so important. And I feel like I really got more into this the closer I got to 30. I spent most of my 20s really not knowing who I was, not having like a North Star, if you will. And it was lonely a lot, and very confusing. I feel like I I had such a lack of self, like I just was like, okay, is this me? Is this me? And so whenever sometimes someone may not have said the nicest thing about me, or I would do something and I would just be so down on myself. And I think a huge key component to that was the fact that I did not have the strongest sense of self and knowing who I was. And so the closer I got to 30, I started really diving into who I was. And I found this through spiritual ways such as astrology, numerology, human design. I'm not saying this is like the only way to figure out who you are. And a lot of people, some may be lucky and know who they are from the beginning. But if you're like me, I went through my 20s really not knowing that answer, and it was a lot of struggles for me. And so as I got closer to 30, I started looking into it in the spiritual aspect, found out so much about myself. It was like so many light bulbs going off. And I know it sounds silly. It's like, what do you mean you didn't know yourself? But when you have social media and society, and you have, family, friends, everybody around you that like you're trying to be someone for, or you think you should be this way because you're following social media, and you're like, oh wow, to be beautiful and successful, or to be happy, I have to do this. And it's sometimes very far off from who you are at your core. And that's where I was for most of my 20s. And so whenever I would hear something that maybe someone would say in a negative way towards me, it would hurt. It would hurt so bad, because I was like, it to a sense, I was like, oh my gosh, is that true? Like, am I that person? When it was something so far off from who I am, and what I want to who I want to be, and who I truly am at my core, but I was like I didn't know that at the time. Like I didn't truly know myself, so it hurt. And I feel like once you finally know yourself, words like that, when you know they're not true, roll right off. I mean, at first, of course, you're like, wow, can't believe someone would say that. But I know who I am, and that's not going to break me. And so I think that there is a superpower in that. To add to that too, I think that I see a lot of young women um, who are single, and they think that they have met the love of their life, and it's sometimes unrequited love. And I think that when you, or young men, I shouldn't even just say young women, young men who maybe find themselves in an unrequited love situation, and they are almost in just like this really heavy chasing energy, trying to like do whatever they can to make that person love them. And I think whenever you have this strong sense of self too, it's it's like a superpower, like I said, because you're able to accept that not everyone is going to love you in the way that maybe you're hoping they will. And if they don't, then that's just because they're not for you, as far as like if a romantic relationship goes. And maybe that's because there's someone else out there who is your perfect match. Okay, so we all know the saying that good things come to those who wait. And as cliche as it is, this is so true. And I found this out really quick in my life because looking back, all my blessings that have shown up in my life, and I'm truly grateful for all of them, but they have all shown up when I wasn't looking. And this is true for meeting my husband. I was not looking for him whatsoever. I was actually in an on and off relationship with someone else when we met. And at the time we were off, but as I met him, it was just kind of like a shock to my system because I was not looking for him at all. And he was someone that was unlike anyone I ever met. And we hit it off right off the bat. And it was just kind of crazy. But so that was my first experience with it. And same with like job opportunities, career opportunities that fell into my lap. Really just anything, any blessing that I have been given, I feel like has just hit me out of nowhere whenever I wasn't looking, wasn't trying to force things, and was just letting it be, you know, letting my faith take over and just trusting that something, like some higher power has a plan for me, and whatever that may be for you. I just trusting in that, and it always delivers. And I wish that I knew that because I feel like I spent a lot of my life in a chaser energy of like, oh my gosh, I got to find the career. I got to figure out what's going to make me money and what's going to make me successful. Or I got to, when I was younger, of course, my husband and I met when I was 18. But before that, I was just like, I got to find my perfect man and always looking. And it was like, okay, well, you're either going to end up with the wrong answer or you are going to end up just chasing it away rather than allowing it to come in. And last but not least, no more FOMO. Let's send the FOMO right out the door. We are all on our own path in life. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, we are on our own path, our own journey. Everybody's journey looks different. We go through different things at different stages in our life. And like I said, maybe the thing that I'm going through at 25, you're not going to go through till you're 35. And that is okay. I hate that there are so many pressures to, find your husband and get married, or your wife and get married and have kids. And, oh, well, all my friends are 28 and married and have kids, but I'm not. Something's wrong with me. Oh my gosh, like I gotta hurry up and find my husband. And sometimes, like I said in the last tip that I just gave, sometimes you end up making maybe not the best decision for you in the process because you're trying to force it. You're chasing that instead of just allowing it to come in. And so just accept that we're all on our own path. Just because all of your friends are maybe married and have kids by the age of 25, maybe you're not going to have that until you're 35. And that's okay because you have 10 years of life lessons and experiences to go through before it's your time. And I think the more that we accept that, the happier that you will be and that more happiness that you will bring in, just allowing life. And also, like, I've found this in myself too, is looking at social media and seeing like, oh my gosh, this person is 30 and they're a millionaire and I'm not a multimillionaire by 30. And oh my gosh, like I'm behind or I'm not as smart or I'm not as driven or successful. And no, when we go down that spiral of FOMO or down on ourselves, it does no good for us because there's always a plan. And when we just focus on the goal and focus on the point ahead and just let life, I love that saying, let life, and it will come in. And give yourself grace by not having it all figured out when everyone else does. This is a huge thing. I know I never experienced the stress of not being married or having kids at a certain age because, of course, I had kids and got married very young. And so I don't know that experience, but I do see a lot of it in my peers and just people talking about it on social media. And it kind of breaks my heart for them because I understand that when you're seeing it constantly and social media kind of gives this pressure of like, hey, you got to have it all figured out. And I think that's the beauty of life is maybe not having it figured out. So that's my 5 things. And I hope that one of them really resonated with you and you can take something away from this episode. And I'm so excited for more to come. And thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you all so much for listening. My goal is for these episodes to at least help one person in some aspect of their life. So if you like what you hear, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe to the show, as well as follow us on social media at Inside Voice Pod. Thanks.